Good afternoon. This is Entrepreneur Wilderness Radio Show, and your host today is Yeno Alobala. And my guest today is Mira Shah. She's who was a previous guest. So if you want to catch her and you read about her autobiography, please go to her website, which is www.miracoaching.com, and obviously go to About Me, and you will get a full biography. So how are you today, Mira Shah?
I am really well, thank you, Yanu.
Okay, good, good. So the topic today, which is very important, which every business owner wants to know, is how do you charge for your services or even for your products as well?
Yeah, that's right. And I think when we talk about services, that's even harder to price than products.
Really? Okay, cool. So how do you want to attack this? What part do you want to start with?
Yeah, so maybe we can just start. I wanted to just talk about, when people start out, the difficulty in setting your pricing. And I think it's more of an issue with business services and when people start out initially. So I thought we'd start with that, maybe just mentioning some of the issues that people actually face.
Sure.
If that's okay. And then we can go ahead and talk about some things to consider and then some actual tips about how you would go about pricing, especially when you're new.
Sure. Okay, I did hear you, but I'm just going to apologize to my audience and also yourself because there's some builders outside at this moment in time working on the roads. So you may hear some banging and some tools and whatever going on in the background. So be forewarned. I will try and keep the windows closed as much.
The joys of living in
Yeah,
London.
they do make a racket, so I do apologize. So yeah, so please just fire away on the first and the reasons why people find it hard to charge for their business.
Yeah, because when people start up especially a business service, most people aren't quite sure how good they are. They've not had any customers, so they're not quite sure what their customers are going to be willing to pay. So those two factors, there's a factor of I'm not sure how good I am. I think I'm good, but you haven't got any evidence yet.
Mm,
And then you've not had any customers to validate or disprove your theory of how good you think you are.
yeah.
So most people, when they start out, they kind of have a natural tendency to really undercharge, and that's really normal.
Mm,
And a lot of people, so for example, I'm a coach. When I first started out, I did a lot of free coaching because I thought
yeah.
I need to get experience. So you think because you need to get experience, literally I was giving away my coaching for free or practically very discounted rates,
Mm.
which was, close to nothing.
And do you think that's like you said, because you're starting out, do you think that has ties in with your own confidence levels?
Absolutely, you've hit the nail on the head. Really, all it is, it's about your confidence, which is, how confident you feel about what you're delivering, and then, your self-belief or the value you think you're going to deliver to your client. That's all it is. And it's very funny because when I started, I used to speak to some entrepreneurs who are really good at what they do, but really quite hardcore, very confident people. And they said to me, why would practice and charge? You've got to charge. You've got to be paid even while you're practicing. Let someone pay you and, practice while you're charging. Practice
Mm,
on their time, on their money, not on your time and your money. Gone out, you've developed a product, you've developed a skill, it's worth something. You go and do it and you'll just fine tune it, but they still should pay you for it. And in fact, when you fine tune it, you could probably even charge more. So really, but I just didn't feel confident and I thought, no, I'll test it out. I'll do a few freebies, I'll do a few trials and I'll see how it goes. So that kind of is pretty normal and it really ultimately is what you said. It just boils down to lack of confidence.
mhm.
And and then also, you when it comes to the actual pricing, whatever the price you want to set, you're not sure customers are going to be willing to pay you that much, and whether you are going to actually deliver that value because we talked a little bit last time about nobody likes to be rejected.
Yeah, yeah.
So, if I charge you, I don't know, £100 for an hour of my coaching, for example,
Hmm.
I need to make sure I believe I'm giving you £100 worth of value in the hour. And if I'm not sure, the last thing I want is for you to come back and say to me, "Oh, I don't think that was worth £100," because that's a rejection.
Yeah,
And that's those two factors. First of all, I'm doubting myself, and then that fear of rejection makes me think, oh, no, no, maybe I'll start with, I don't know, 30, 40, or sometimes you go as far as maybe I'll do a few free sessions and see how they go.
yeah,
Successful people don't think like that. They just think, I have a product, I'm going to be a good coach come what may. I'm going to charge for this. Yeah, I'll make a few mistakes in the beginning, but I know I'm good. I know I'll give the client something, and I'll fine tune it a little bit as I go along. And it's the confidence that really does make a big difference.
and also, do you think that plays into like some imagined fear that when you charge, some reason the customer's not going to ever come back and do business with you again?
That's the other fear, isn't it? If they don't like you and they don't come back, that's worse. And even worse than that is, if they give you a bad review or if they start telling all their friends and family or they put it, on your wall, those bad reviews is also a big fear, not just that customer, but them spreading bad press about you. That's a really, really big fear. So that's another reason as well, because it's not just the customer, but everybody has impact on other people. And if people get really annoyed, you don't know who they're going to tell
Mm.
if everybody else to see. And
True.
then there's another issue that initially, you feel, oh, if I do something for free and it's good, then the converse is true. So you think, oh, well, if it's free, but if they like me, they're going to spread the word.
Yeah. Okay, I think your line's cut out.
Let me call you back then.
Oh no, yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so the con.
Okay, yeah, you're slightly cutting up.
Okay, let me try and move to a different spot.
Yeah,
Okay, so is that better?
I can hear you now. Yep, yep.
The converse also where people think that, oh, if they do or hardly charge anything, they will tell their friends and they will really like me and they will tell their friends. But that doesn't work. The problem with that is one is, your lack of confidence by not charging. So you've kind of said, I'm not sure how good I am, but just please come and try me. They're
Mm,
not gonna come and say, "Oh wow, you are amazing. I think you are, £100 worth." They've come for free. They're never gonna give you that feedback. And to be honest, they're not gonna take you that seriously. The serious clients don't show up.
mm.
It's all the freebie clients who generally don't pay for stuff who show up.
Yeah, yeah, and also, I mean, someone was telling me the experience when they went to a seminar, and I think it was a test that they were doing, and they exact same information, and one seminar they had it for nothing, and then the one seminar they charged like some slightly higher rates, and people said the seminar wasn't all that when it was for free, but when the people who had to charge for it and pay for the seminar, they said it was the greatest thing they've ever been to. And it's exactly the same information. I thought that was just so bizarre.
That is so interesting. But it really goes to show, if you're telling people I'm giving you something of value, then they value it. They mirror back what you show,
Yeah.
and how you show it is by setting your price.
Mm. And I think, go on, go on.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. That's a really interesting experiment they did. But it really does go to show, what you price things at is what people value things at.
So
And
even despite people like entrepreneurs who starting out, they know that. What is there a kind of like a barrier to them saying, right, I need to charge something substantial, or charge have my pricing in such a way where it makes my venture sustainable. Why do you think some of them struggle? 'Cause I know some, and they really are. They just for some reason don't want to charge too much because they think they're going to push people away.
And that's exactly the opposite effect because it's the lack of confidence, isn't it? You think I'll start here because I'm not an experienced coach,
Mm.
so I don't want to charge the same as experienced coaches. The problem is then you attract clients who want to pay nothing or who are at that level. How will you ever increase your fees because now you've labeled yourself at a particular value? Then it's very hard to come up from that. It's far better to start at the high value and then stay there and then just take the criticism on board and improve it.
Mm.
But it's the lack of confidence, it's the fear. You know, when you say, well, I don't think customers will come, you're not going to charge more than the market dictates. You're not, so I keep using coaching because that's my personal
Yeah,
experience.
yeah,
But you know, I'm not going to charge more than other coaches in my field charge. And if I do, then yeah, I might outprice myself. But anybody who's starting out is never gonna, outprice themselves from the start.
mm. And also that's quite interesting because that's one of the questions I had. Um, is it right to literally set your pricing according to which sector you're in? So, like, say coaching, would you look at your like, well, quote unquote competitors and say, right, because they're charging that, I will charge the same thing. Is that the right thing to do?
Yeah, so later on I talk a little bit about,
Mm.
actually how to price, but one of the
Okay.
thing is no, that's fine. One of the thing is your competitors. So really look at what your competitors are doing and see what the market price is.
Mm.
And the thing is, as you know, with everything, first of all, you kind of really need to be clear on who your clients are
Hmm.
because you can go low end or you can go high end. So if you go low end, then you're going for volume. And if you're going high end, you're going for less volume but more fees. So you need to be clear on what kind of clients you want to start with. And that almost is linked into your goals because you need to really be clear and go, okay, this is how much I want to make this year from my coaching. Rather than say, I'll see how it goes,
Yeah.
you need to go, okay, I'm going to make, I don't know, £10,000 in the next 3 months.
Yeah.
And then you have two options. You can either go, low volume and high prices, or high prices and low volume. That's kind of the general mix you get, right?
Yeah.
Of course, when you get really good, you can do high volume and high prices, but you know, so that's my limiting belief, I guess. So,
Mm.
yeah, but the thing what becomes very real is if you do the sums, then say you do £100 an hour at
Yeah.
what I say I wanted £10,000. That then tells me I need to go and get 100 clients in say 3 months, right?
Yeah.
I mean, getting 100 clients in 3 months is really, really tough. So suddenly I'll go, wow, actually, I can only get 50 clients.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm like, well, if I can only get 50 clients, then I'm gonna have to increase my price. How else am I ever gonna hit my target?
Yeah.
And then suddenly all those people who want free coaching and friends of friends who want free coaching and who want really discounted rates, I'll be really tough because I'll be like, I can't afford this. I won't hit my target. So I clear on your customer targets as you. But your competitors is a good clue. Also, you know,
Okay. You're cutting up
uh,
again. Apologies for that. There's agreement in the room again. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. 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 You just cut out slightly there. Say that again.
So the other thing also is you can say, well, if my competitors, on average for my level of experience, if I want the rates, um, it tend to be, let's say, 50 to £100 an hour for coaching.
Hmm.
Then if clients are willing to pay somebody else that, why wouldn't they pay you that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got to think like that.
And do you also think, apart from the fear that because sometimes I sense from people when they're starting out new, they kind of have a kind of guilty conscience, like they're almost robbing you or something. And like you said, it's a confidence thing. They're not quite sure if they give them value for money, but I do sense like a guilt trip going on when you especially when you talk about the issue of pricing.
That sounds like you're speaking from experience there.
Yeah, yeah.
I felt it was. You're absolutely right. You can share your experience in a second, but absolutely. I think, when you start out, you're not sure that you deserve to earn that money or if you're any good. So you feel guilty charging for it until you've proven yourself in a way.
Yeah, it's just that kind of weird paradigm. You're thinking, right, do I actually need? It's not like as opposed to when you go into work and you're getting this fixed salary. Now you're doing this on your own, and you are basically the captain of your ship, and you're going in there and saying, right, you want these clients, you want this amount of money, but for some odd reason, this is like some mad mental barrier going on where you're thinking, but if I take this money, am I going to do this? And all these kind of crazy things start happening in your mind. So yeah, definitely, I think I've been there myself.
And it's funny, but a lot of people are actually, for many reasons, scared of success
Mm,
and scared of earning a lot of money. And I think it's that thing of, I don't know if I deserve this, am I good enough? All those kind of other psychological factors. But actually, a lot of people are really scared of success and they're scared of earning a lot of money.
mm. Why do you think that? Because I've often wrestled with that. I even do it to this day. I think, oh, just imagine if this happens and this happens and that happens, and you know, let's say this radio show really just goes platinum and I get millions of views. What am I going to do? And I'm thinking that should be great. I should be rejoicing, not really thinking that this is the death throes of my success, so to speak.
Yeah, and probably there's a bit of, you're probably scared that when it gets that big, will you be able to cope and will you be able to
Mm,
deliver to millions of viewers? You're thinking of something that's not even real because if
but yeah.
they come into your show, you obviously have something to give them.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point. And then you logically you think, yeah, that's right. Of course, I need more people, and I'm trying to share this. But for someone that mind shift is just still there. This thing, that kind of crazy little voice in your head saying, "Oh, just imagine if this goes wrong and the whole network fails down. You've got millions of people looking at you, and they're gonna spread this news that you're showing all that." And it's just like you said, it's not real. It's just simply not there.
Yeah, and the thing, it's funny because about failure, it's people don't want to fail. And actually, when they do some research, it's not because people are actually scared of failing. It's actually people are scared of what other people will think of them when they
Yeah,
fail.
yeah, yeah.
That's the crazy thing. People actually don't mind failing because actually that is the normal course of life.
Well,
But
yeah.
the fear is about what other people will think of you when you
And
fail.
it's just crazy, and you never hear these people. Okay? I've been through some failures myself, and when you actually come out the other end, you're thinking half of what I was thinking never happened. It just never happened. Half people are really sympathetic, and they think, no, get up, dust yourself off, and get yourself back out there. You're thinking, oh, and you hear this from the least, people that you would think that would actually say that kind of stuff, and you think, what was all that for? Why was I even thinking these things? And it's like you're right, it's crazy. It's just,
It's in your
yeah,
head.
yeah,
Yeah, in your head, things are much worse than they are in reality. And
mm,
actually, most people who are successful will tell you, oh, that happened to me when I started. And in fact, most businesses and products fail a few times before they take
yeah,
off.
yeah,
But, it's in your head, and we really need to get over this fear of failure and this fear of what other people will think of us. Because we think that's back to the pricing. Then we think, who am I to charge so much? What makes me think I'm so good that I can
mm,
charge so much?
yeah,
It's all rubbish. You're good. You're amazing. Why can't you charge that much? You just have to shift the voice in your head.
yeah, yeah,
So when that comes up, you just go, well, why can't I charge that much?
yeah.
Why do you think I'm not good? I'm amazing.
Okay, that brings us nicely into like what kind of how would you advise someone if they're having problems in that arena, and what kind of tips would you give someone who is having problems?
Yeah, so some of the things really just to be aware of before we actually talk about the actual pricing is, so
Mm,
one of the things I touched on is, work out your targets and your goals, but really remind yourself that the whole reason you first of all went into this business selling your services was to make a profit.
yeah, exactly.
We often forget, there's a lot of we'll see how this goes. When I get good, it will get big.
Yeah,
No, remind yourself you've gone into this to make a profit now,
yeah,
not in the
yes. Not,
future.
not tomorrow, not some yet, not some next week or next year, and everyone will recognize me. But people seem to fall into that trap, and that they like to stay there, and like sometime, someday tomorrow mentality.
And that's why it's so, that advice I got of not doing any free coaching, and it's back to the experiment you said. It's so important because once you get into that place, you're kind of reinforcing your low confidence. It's even harder to get out of there. It's just better not to go there. It's better to go, I'm here to make money and I'm gonna make money and I'm gonna be good at it, and whatever it takes, I'll be good at it
And
rather
plus,
than not see what happens.
most people would see that they would because they would see that you're confident in the way you're charging. That they will see it in your pricing. They will definitely see it, and that would hurt your marketing. So your marketing saying one thing, but your pricing saying something else, and that it doesn't literally match. And they're thinking, no, you're not ready yet, and that will then eventually stop you from being in business pretty soon.
Absolutely. I mean, you're there to make money, and if you can't sustain your business, you're gonna go bust anyway.
Mm.
And it's, if you're showing the clients what value to place on you, actually you're telling them what value to place on you by how you charge, not by what you deliver. I mean, you've got to deliver as well, but the
Yeah.
first step is if you're pricing, if you don't value yourself, that you could do an amazing job. They're just not going to value you like the experiment you said.
As a caveat, have you found anyone using the excuse that because of the economy I can't charge this much money? Have you come across that?
I have, and then I laugh and I say, but there are coaches who charge double, or in my case, I'd be like, yeah, but there are coaches who charge double, triple what you charge.
Mm.
So, so what?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it is like you say, but it's a bit of an excuse. I mean, obviously, market forces do come into play, and you have to tailor it to your services. But ultimately, it is really, all those things are just excuses. There's always a willing customer willing to pay something.
and that's if you've done like I said, like in the earlier one, if you've done your research and all sorts and understood your target market, then you wouldn't have that problem because they will still want to buy what it is because they see value. So that's something that my audience should take away.
And the
But
other thing is,
yeah.
it's really don't compete on price, especially if you're in the service industry. Don't compete on price.
Hmm.
Compete on other factors,
Yeah.
um, because customers for services, they don't necessarily just buy on price. They buy, your service levels, the quality of what you deliver, your customer service, your follow up. Differentiate on other factors, not on price.
And do you think most, like especially if they're in the service? I mean, to be honest, like in this country, and I no doubt you experiences, the service sometimes is really bad that you get from. You just think, what are you crazy? Why your customer service is poor? There's no, like you said, follow up and none of these things, and they want to charge like rocket. I mean, why don't people? Have you come across that as well, where people just think that running a business and all their operations has no effect on their price whatsoever? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where you can make a difference. You can charge more, but then you can give really good customer service. I know for me, I'm happy to pay a bit more if I get
Mm.
treated right. Like, and there will be some price sensitive customers, but you can't please everyone all the time. So you go, okay, I don't want the price sensitive customers. I'm gonna go for customer loyalty, and to do that, I need to really provide them customer service.
Mm.
And that's a much more sustainable and feel good business model, I think.
I think most people when especially when they start out with that in mind, and like you said earlier, they forget halfway, and then all that confidence sets in, well, lack of it, and then it has an effect on their service because they think, right, if I'm not confident, then why am I even doing this? And the service drops off, the pricing gets smaller, and then they eventually just wind up being out of
Yeah, because
a
then you have
business.
nothing left
Yeah,
without your
yeah.
service and your customer loyal base.
Mm,
Somebody will always find a way to undercut you.
mm,
And then what are you gonna do
mm.
if you compete on price?
Right, and so how do you deal with that? If so, let's say in that coaching, and it just gets, I don't know, saturated for some odd reason, and everybody's in there and just doing whatever they want to just try and get a lot of attention, and they start undercutting. How would you then advise someone to go about battling against that?
So first of all, believe you're really good. Just know you're good. And yeah, if you're just starting out, go, okay, I don't have all the answers and experience, but that will come. But essentially, I'm really good and someone is going to benefit from my coaching. So get that in your head, right? Then know you're there to make money. You're there to make a profit, work out your targets. And then the things you can do. So one of the things is obviously we mentioned, check what your competitors are doing. And then you can work out what the market price is for the kind of thing that you do. But don't use that necessarily, but just use that as a benchmark to set your own pricing.
Mm.
And just, don't be price sensitive. Make it all about value. Then that's where the difference is. And then remember the price you set, your customers will be judging you by what price you set. The other thing is also the perceived value to the customer, because that's quite subjective. Because you're like, my
Yeah.
coaching,
Mm.
sometimes there's no tangible benefit, There's things like self-awareness,
Hmm.
there's things like your confidence has gone up. How do you measure that? You can't.
No, no.
And sometimes the confidence only comes in after the client does a certain number of exercises or a couple of months. It's not immediate after the
Mm.
session. So it's really intangible. So it's really, really difficult to kind of get the actual value. Products are kind of easy. You use them there and then, and it's something tangible.
Yeah.
So that's a lot harder. But, try and think of what would you pay for someone to give you what you're giving someone else. Put yourself in their shoes. For me, if I was like feeling low and I wanted a boost in self-esteem, I would pay a hell of a lot for a little while to just get that right.
Yeah.
And then trust that there'll be other people thinking the same thing.
Mm.
The other thing you can do is also, have different pricing models. So you can have, for example, an hourly rate. You can have, a long-term contractual rate.
Mm.
You can have different rates so that people have different options as well.
Yeah.
And one of the things I would say, especially if you're a one-man band, really try and get the money up front. Honestly, you just do not. It's very funny because you're a one-man band, people are just not very quick at paying you afterwards because the
Yeah.
service is done,
And I've
and you
seen.
don't have that time chasing the money.
Yeah, I've seen that so many times just with people, and I'm always quick to just like here because I understand the situation and stuff. So if I have someone around, let's say a builder, they're doing something, I'm just boom, here's the money, and they're like, oh, they get all surprised and everything. I'm thinking, no, I ain't gonna wait all 30 days and start. I'll pay you now, so I know how it goes because I've heard some horrendous stories where people that, like you said, they just think because you're a one man band, they can just slip you and just like not answer
And
your.
it happens all the time, and you don't have the time or resources to go chasing that money.
No, no.
It's also a commitment from the client. It's like, look, we've agreed on X, so
Mm,
you pay X and I'll deliver X value. And you can always say to them, if for any reason that you feel that that wasn't the value you got back, then we can talk about a refund, no problem.
mm-hmm.
But initially it's payment upfront. Then if you're dissatisfied, we can talk about refunds and
I
things.
think it goes back to the confidence level because people don't want to. They don't want to look like the Arthur Daly or something like that, thinking I need the money now, and they want to come with that image. So they try and be too nice and say, oh, pay later. And again, that's down to someone's confidence.
It is because if someone wants you, trust me, they will find a way to pay you. And if they don't have the money, how are they going to pay you anyway, even afterwards?
Yeah, yeah,
So really, I would say just get that out of the way because that can be a lot of things. So the other thing was, like I said, get work out your goals and that will help
mm,
you know what you need to price or how hard you need to work. Because you might think, oh, I'll just coach for, I don't know, £20 an hour. And then you're like, I'll never make my own ends meet if I'm doing that. Forget
well,
my
it's,
ambitions.
it's very difficult, yeah. Because I mean, like I said, I've had that experience as well, and you find that so at some level you think this isn't really working. I have to factor in different things, that are outside of the business, that are going to impact me. So I need to make this sustainable. If I don't, then I'm just going to be going around in circles, just chasing my tail, basically.
Absolutely. And the other thing you can do is, we all have what we call a gut feeling or an intuition.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you've done your homework, you've checked out what your competitors are pricing, you kind of know what your goals and your clients are. And then you can use your gut feeling or your instinct. So some people, especially in services, they don't actually have a pricing package. They just meet a client and
Mm,
they intuitively price based on gut feel at that point in time.
hmm.
They have a rough idea of, what level they want to charge at, but
Do you think that's correct? Because I mean, I would rather go for someone who's got uniformity, or is it just would that suit some people that just to have that kind of flexibility? I mean, is there a right way to do that?
I don't think there's a right way, and business works on different contracts. The problem is, it's not so much you have a benchmark, but I think you kind of think, okay, this person's going to be really hard work, they're going to be a lot more time consuming, and they're not going to be happy anyway with whatever I give. So
Mm.
I'm going to charge them more for that extra bit that they're
They
going to
pun-
take out
they
of
punish them.
me.
Okay, go carry on.
Yeah, no, you know the kind of clients I mean, right? And the problem is that those troublesome clients are generally the most time consuming and the most demanding. So you might actually feel, actually, I want to charge a bit more. And also sometimes you meet some clients and normally, I don't know, say my fee is 100, but I meet someone,
Mm.
who's pretty hot. And then if I was to say 100 an hour to them, they might not actually perceive that for the right value. They
Yeah,
might think that's too low, and then they wouldn't think that's very valuable to them.
yeah, yeah.
So I think you can be a little bit flexible, but
Mm.
even you can use your gut feeling even to create your packages. So even if you want to be uniform, you can still use your gut feeling to kind of create some packages. I don't know if you've ever used kind of an instinct in any of your work.
Well, yeah, 'cause I've worked in all sort of industries before, so yeah, like especially when I used to be a builder, that I was an electrician. As when I was younger as well, I found it very difficult to open my mouth just to say this is how much I need. Although I was trained, had all sorts of what do you call it, certificates after my name and so forth. If for some odd reason I felt just bad just asking for this money and it's all, I just done this job, so someone really had to school me and say, look, you need to start charging, kid, otherwise you're just going to be going around in circles. And it did take a bit of willpower in my part just to say to someone, this is how much per socket, this is how much per light, and for the day rate and whatever. Yeah, so it was definitely a journey for me to do that. And yes, you price it according to who you're dealing with, and you try and be flexible. And when you get experience in terms of charging people, then you can kind of work with them rather than against them.
Exactly. And so I think, sometimes, just using that intuition, that gut instinct can be useful. But, do your research and then I always apply my gut instinct onto that.
Mm,
Because also with your market research, something like coaching, people will charge from 50 to 500 pounds.
yeah.
So, what then that's where then you have to use your gut instinct a little bit
Mm,
to
mm,
go, well, for these clients, this is what they will perceive as value, and those are the clients I want to attract. So, this is what I'm going to go for. And the other thing about pricing, nothing is ever written in blood. Try
uh,
something. If it doesn't work, don't be afraid to change it.
yeah.
And I always think it's better to start high. And the reason for that is I always I always quote my clients more, a lot of clients more than what my standard rate is.
Yeah.
And a lot of clients will happily pay that. But a lot of clients will always ask for a discount. People feel
Mm,
special when they have a discount. So
yeah.
then when I discounted to the rates that I think are fair to me.
Yeah.
So that's the other reason you charge more. And then also, you can have early bird discounts, you can have cash payment upfront discounts. If you charge a little bit more, you have a little bit of flexibility to discount it without kind of feeling the pinch yourself.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
what was very funny, I kind of started, charging. more whatever. I'm just making these numbers up. So I was charging like when I started charging properly, 70 an hour, but really I wanted to charge 50, and I thought, well, I'll do 70 because a lot of people will ask for discounts, for cash payment up front, all sorts of
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
What was funny is about 80% of my clients happily paid it. So then that became my new price.
This became your price. And before then, you were charging 50. So you were leaving yourself out of business basically beforehand.
Exactly. And so, if the few customers who would ask, I would say, okay, I'm only doing this for you and for no one else. But
Yeah.
I only did it because they asked. And then I would, offer it to them at 50 or something, and say, well, actually, I can do it for 50 if you commit to whatever X was. But they felt special, and I was doing them a special favor. So, in fact, overcharge. And if things don't work, don't be scared to flex your pricing either way, upwards or downwards. Just play around with it because you'll be surprised. You think someone won't pay something and they will.
Hmm.
But
True.
really, the key three things I know we're probably about out of time, but the key three things I would really say, if for everyone who's listened in, one is get your self-belief right. If you don't believe in your service, you know what? Don't go out selling it to other people. Just get that right first.
Because
Just
people, like I said before, people just they'll see it straight away, and they'll think, no, you're not confident. So why should I be confident? You know?
exactly. You don't even trust your product. Why should they buy your product? I mean, come on, right?
That's the
So
selling.
so
I've seen.
that's really key.
Uh,
It's like if, I'd be like, you don't even believe in your product. Now you want me to pay for your
wow.
product. Forget
And that's kind
it.
of crazy because they think that if they just keep going on and for some odd reason they think people can't see it. And I'm like, no, I really see that you're not confident. So, I mean, you need to really sort out that, the package, like you said before, and dealing with yourself. And then it will translate into whatever product or service you're trying to offer. So, yeah, you're dead correct there, man.
Absolutely. And the other thing I would say to people is remember you've gone into business to make money. There are
Mm.
plenty of customers out there willing to pay. There are plenty of businesses out there who charge. You want to be one of the profitable ones. Remember you went in there to make a profit.
Uh, I've come across some people, and this was really weird. It's like because they was we got into a real heated debate about it, in fact, and I kept saying to them, look, you can't run your business as like a charity. Now, I'm not like knocking non for profits. Obviously, if you're non for profits, you go for funding grants and so forth. It's a slightly different model, but they just couldn't get it in their head that look, if you're gonna run a business, you need to be sustainable. And they were arguing with me, saying, "Yeah, but I got to think about people." I mean, how would you tell? How would you, answer that type of response?
Well, I don't think you're helping anyone by charging a low price because how you're helping them is they are not earning a lot of money because they lack self-belief in certain ways, right?
Hmm.
So by you charging them more, they suddenly are going to step up because it's realizing how much things cost and that, what they can afford. And then, instead of coming for your service 10 times, they'll come eight, but they'll pay more, but they'll be more committed. So actually, they'll get much more out of it.
Hmm.
And you're setting an example, in coaching, you set an example to your clients by how you behave. There's no point me telling them, well, you need to have self-belief and go for your goals and, all this kind of stuff when I'm not even charging enough.
If you don't believe
I'm
this,
actually helping them. No, but I'm helping them by charge a lot because
yeah,
they're like, oh, here's someone who values herself. Here's someone who's not scared to charge. And if they want to afford me, they need to step up, and you're helping them step up because
yeah,
then that's how they'll find the money.
yeah, exactly. And it's surprising that, like you said, people will find the money, especially if they want to participate in something that they value. Time is upon us. I
You
mean,
will really find the money. Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
I'll tell you
So
a quick story. So,
yeah,
it'll be a minute, but you've heard of Anthony Robbins, right?
yes, yes.
So, one of the most famous motivational speakers.
Mm,
So he's like now a billion trillionaire. But one of his stories is that when he first started, he used to be a janitor cleaning somewhere.
yeah,
And then he
yeah.
used to see this guy who used to always come and give seminars and charge a lot of money. So
Mm,
he said to the guy, I really want to attend one of your seminars. And the guy said to him, he said, you know what? I could obviously invite you for free. It's no big deal for me. I have hundreds of people in my lectures, but I'm not going to let you come for free because when you save up and you pay for that thing, you will value it more.
Yeah.
And he said that changed his life.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and it goes back to that experiment that I told you earlier, where they'd done the seminar for free. People just thought, ah, whatever, and they just didn't take it seriously. The exact same information, and then someone charged for it, and it slightly was stretched towards people's pockets, slightly higher than what people would normally pay, and it was the best seminar on the planet. And it is, I think it is people. There's some perceived deep value that if they're costing it that much, or if they're pricing it at this level, then there must be some kind of value in this. So yeah, I want to join in, and it's kind of I don't know, like an upmanship almost, that I went to this show and I paid this much money, you weren't there, that type of stuff. So you feel better about yourself in terms of doing something that you committed some money towards.
And you're gonna take the course seriously because if it's free, you turn up, you don't
Yeah,
turn up, doesn't matter, you're not paid for it. You paid for it, you're
yeah,
like, I'm gonna
yeah.
get my money's worth here.
That's the key. Money's worth. Is what's the value for money, and that it all ties into that. So definitely. So any more tips that you can give people like to watch out for, how they've got to position themselves in terms of their pricing strategy.
I would just say, you know what? Don't be scared. Just go for it. Literally, just go, fuck it. I'm gonna charge this much. Excuse my French.
That's okay.
So just say, sod it. Just say, you know what? Sod it. I'm not gonna question. Don't overanalyze and go, can I charge this much? Can I deliver this much value? Da, da. Just go, you know what? Sod it. I'm just gonna go out. I'm gonna charge, and then make sure you're that good.
Hmm.
I
And,
just say, go for it. Really.
and would this translate into on? 'Cause I know you're not like a total online expert, but I've always looked at like membership models versus like subscription versus one-off payments. I mean, could someone who runs something like this, like yourself, you got your website and stuff, could that be incorporated somehow?
Yeah, so I think customer retention and continued income is way better. So yeah, exactly. If you can kind of have a model where they buy into loyalty for a longer term, that's way more ideal than kind of a one-off customer.
Mm, definitely. I'm just gonna throw you a curveball question. 'Cause I know you used to work in the banking industry. How do the banks do it? How do they charge? I mean, can you give me a real quick breakdown?
How do they charge their customers?
Yeah.
You know what? Whatever they can get away with, they charge.
Seriously.
So for example, they sell you a mortgage, and
uh,
then some guy in a bank says, "Hey, I know how we can make more money. Let's get them to insure that mortgage."
oh, right, so that's okay.
The scandals that are
Yeah.
coming out. But
So
that's why the banks make the money they make because they're not scared of charging. Their focus is just profits.
um,
I'm not saying all businesses need to be like that. And that
no,
model's
no,
breaking down because it was all a little bit unethical. But banking is very about the money, so
no.
that's probably not the best example,
Ours is very
especially with
clear.
all the scandals
Oh yeah,
going on right
yeah,
now. You
all
don't
that.
want to be copying that.
Oh, no, definitely, and the way that they done Libor and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But any opportunity for a buck, they grabbed it.
Just do it. They're ruthless. So I mean, yeah. I mean, speak to that word. Is it right to be? Is there a balance that you got to strike in terms of helping your customers? And then, cause I've been to businesses and they do follow that kind of banking mentality where no matter what they do, they're just ruthless and. They'll just if you can't pay it, that's it. You can't be part of this subscription and you have to go. I mean, is that the right way for some businesses to operate?
I think you have to be tough. You're in it for profit. So if somebody can't afford services, I think you have to be tough and say, look, I'm sorry, this is what I charge and I can't. But you can point them into other directions that might be free. So, for example, if someone couldn't afford my one-to-one coaching, I could point them to my website, my free tips. I could point them to my ebook from which they should be able to benefit. And I'll say to them, look, when you do have the money, come back. But I just, I can't. But you can point them to other products or other resources that are free, that are not necessarily yours. But you can point them saying, have you tried looking here, here, and here? And the ones who seriously want you will find the money and come back.
Truly, truly, truly. So I think the time's upon us. So I did say that we were going to try and be short, and we ended up getting there a time.
It's got the full length, hasn't it?
It just flies so quickly. I keep doing this to myself all the time. So can I hold you over to the other side?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, you heard it. Read. Please go over the podcast and try your best to understand exactly what it is you're doing with your venture. Take stock of who you are. Your confidence levels in what you're offering. And there is value. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't be embarking upon this journey. You should have. We're assuming your research. You know your target market. You know exactly what you're going to offer, how you're going to do it. You should know your costs to run your operations, so you can sell whatever it is that you're selling and make a profit. So keep those in mind. And yep, thank you for coming to the show today, Mira.
Thank you. It's been my
Yep.
pleasure to
So
be on
this,
your show.
so thank you. And so this show will be titled "How to." Oh, bear with me.
Um,
How to price business services. Yeah, so how to price your business for your service that you're offering. Yeah, so you can find the archive on my website, which is www.e-wilderness.wix.com/e-wilderness, and you can also find the archives on there. Yeah, so that's basically it, really. Yeah, and if you want to catch up with Mira, you can go to, again, it will be www.miracoaching.com to catch up with Mira. Again, www.miracoaching.com. And I'm your host today, Oyena Olubala. Please tune in next time. Thank you.